Alumni leaders from BYU and Utah will be on the show tonight. Michael Johansson and Chris Bosman. They're going to let us know all the different ways we can participate in this mega food drive that's going on in conjunction with the football game on Saturday. So BYU and Utah team together to raise food for folks in need here in the Beehive State. So we thought, hey, well, let's bring them on. And so they'll be on the show here in a bit.
Such a good thing and such a good cause. So we'll have them on to talk about that.
And some fans were reacting like, dang, it's 8:15, and they're not happy about that. But here's the thing. BYU plays better at night.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And if they get through this weekend, then they'll have 3 games left on the schedule. And if ESPN's going to put them at night, you take it.
It's just fine.
That's better than 10 a.m. I can tell you that much. Where Utah and Colorado are going to play next Saturday.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great.
No, it'll be warmer in the fourth quarter there, but BYU plays better at night.
And there's something about that stadium at night. You know, they had the drone show the last night game and all of the things that are going on. The fans seem to just get into it, and that stadium comes alive at night, and everybody calls them the Vampire Cougars. I'll take any night game for the Cougs any time of year. I think that's a plus for BYU to have that be an 8:15 kick.
Cougars are number 9 in the AP Top 25, just behind Indiana and just ahead of Notre Dame. As for the undefeateds, there's now BYU, Oregon, Army, Miami, and Indiana. That's it.
That's it. Yeah, and then the college football playoff poll, which is really the only one that matters once it comes out. It comes out tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So where will BYU be on that one? Most of the predictions have BYU winning the Big 12 championship game. So that's kind of getting ahead of themselves, right? But they predict now. Things can change, but they're predicting them to win that game, which would put them in the Fiesta Bowl with a first-round bye as the number 4 seed.
That's a warm place.
Yeah, the college football playoff quarterfinals. So the champion of the Big 12 is guaranteed at least the 4th spot. Right now, Miami's ahead of them in the polls, leading the ACC. But what if SMU wins the ACC? Then I think BYU would be and say BYU wins out. Then BYU might be a 3 seed in the college football playoff, and then it might not be the Fiesta Bowl. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Just got to keep winning. Some recruiting news. 2 highly sought-after offensive linemen commit to BYU over the weekend. Austin Pay, that's the brother of Connor Pay, picked the Cougars over top-ranked Oregon and Oklahoma. A 3 or 4 star, depending on the service you look at, from Lone Peak High School in Highland. And then Aleao, I'm going to say Kalanaya Vuala Valida. I'm just going to keep going because they're all kind. Here's the last name: Kalanaiuvauvalu.
I'm going to say it's Kalan Luvalu.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, and Alai Kalan Luvalu.
He flipped his commitment from Oregon to BYU. He's a 4-star out of Bishop Gorman High School in Vegas. He played a year at Timpview, just down the road from our studios. But went down to Vegas. He's at Bishop Gorman, and he flips. And so BYU gets 2 big, sought-after offensive linemen, and the future looks bright with those young kids.
Austin Pay, you and I had a chance to visit with Connor Pay earlier this year, and we said to Connor, how good is Austin? And so this, I'm quoting Connor now. I'm not making this judgment. He goes, oh, he's way better than me. He says he's longer, he's more athletic, he said his potential is way beyond mine. That's what the brother said. So I'm not, I'm not putting Connor down. Connor's a heck of a player.
This guy, everybody wanted. Yeah, everybody wanted.
He's a little longer. He's really, really athletic. Everybody wanted him.
So a couple of big wins for the football team over the weekend. The Big 12 in the AP Top 25. Again, everything shifts to the college football rankings tomorrow night. But as we sit tonight, BYU's at 9. You got Iowa State at 17, Colorado in at 21, Kansas State at 22, and SMU's up to 13th.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on SMU.
SMU is just, I think BYU's lucky they played SMU when they did, because they're just rolling up points on people now. And in the Big 12 standings, BYU all alone in first place now at 5-0. Iowa State's in second, tied with Colorado at 4-1. And then tied for 4th are Kansas State and Texas Tech at 4-2. Utah, BYU's opponent this Saturday, tied for 12th at 1-4 in conference right now.
All right, let's talk about the rivalry game. Kickoff is Saturday night, 8:15 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN. That means game day starts at 6 Mountain on BYU TV and ESPN Plus. Post-game sometime early Sunday morning.
Yeah.
That'll be on BYU TV. And it turns out the uniform's going to be all royal against all crimson. The weather is going to, I was listening to Kevin Eubank, our friend from KSL earlier today. Clear and cool, high 50. He said the temperature during the game will be in the 40s. The low is 32.
But that's like at 3 o'clock in the morning or something, right?
It could be, yeah. So it's going to be cool. It's, it's not summer, but it's not snowing, raining, or miserable.
Yeah. Cool is okay as long as, and that's not freezing cold. That's not, Arctic type stuff. If the wind's not blowing and there's no moisture, then that's good weather. That's just football weather, right?
Yeah.
So Las Vegas now has BYU. They've established them as a 5.5-point favorite in this game. So, hey, Doug Harvickson saying, hey, checking in from Davis County. Hey, Doug. Blaine's old stomping grounds. Fun to see Scott Mitchell. I was in Rice-Eccles Stadium when we lost with Scott quarterbacking on the other side. Memories. Yeah, Scott lit BYU up in that game. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that when Scott comes on.
Rivalry's back, 96th meeting between the two. The last one was in 2021. BYU won at 26-17. The last time they won up in Salt Lake was November 25th, 2006. Beck to Harleen.
Right.
We all remember that one. Now, they've only played 5 times since up in Salt Lake, but it's still been 18 years. The last 4 games at Rice-Eccles decided by a combined 13 points.
Combined 13 points.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's something.
Yeah.
That's how this game is. And it doesn't seem to matter. And we'll talk to Scott about this a little bit. It doesn't seem to matter who appears that year to have more talent, who appears to be on a roll, whose culture is better. The game always seems to be tight. Now, there are a few exceptions to that. But as a general rule, the game's tight regardless of what team limps in and what team comes in on a roll. So that's what we got to look forward to this weekend.
Let's look at the numbers.
Yeah, scoring offense, BYU averaging 35.1 points a game. Utah comes in averaging 22.8. And the struggles at quarterback are well documented without Cam Rising. They've gone with Isaac Wilson. They've gone with Rose. And who knows this weekend. Scoring defense, BYU 19.6, Utah 16.5. Utah, just like they are every year, one of the top defenses in the country. BYU, also one of the top defenses in the country this year. And I think that's one of the reasons that they're undefeated. This defense for BYU gave the offense a chance to grow up a little bit, and for Jake to grow up, the quarterback, right in front of our eyes. And now they're playing really well on both sides of the ball.
Cougars are 24-3 in their last 27 games at night, Saturday's games at night. One interesting thing about Utah is they've lost 4 in a row to some of the worst teams in the league, which I think is surprising because they're teams that haven't scored a lot of points. Like TCU's not going to score a lot. Arizona didn't score a lot. Let's see, Houston didn't score a lot ever. But they scored enough to beat Utah, so their defensive points stayed down in games they still lost.
Yeah, and their issue has been on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, and Scott can help us break it down a little bit, but defense has been pretty solid. Maybe not creating as many turnovers and big plays as they have in the past, which they really need to this year because the offense just hasn't been as good as it's been, and that's sometimes. Not being productive on offense puts pressure on your defense and hurts them. And that seems to be the case in those games.
A lot of scores on the stream. Perhaps the rest will be influenced by what you're about to announce with your 3 keys to a BYU victory.
There you go. I'll give him 2. So
and as you know, Blaine makes these keys, and then we revisit them.
Oh yeah, I don't get away with just throwing it out there. If I'm not right, we all hear about it. So,
all right, number 1.
So I think a key for BYU would be to win the turnover and margin battle, especially no terminal turnovers. They've had a bunch of those in losses to Utah. When I say terminal turnovers, those are turnovers that immediately result in points. So either a pick six, a scoop and score, or a turnover that's so deadly that it goes down to your 1 yard line or 2 yard line and you score on the next play. So terminal turnovers have been big turning points in these games. And for BYU, I say you win a turnover margin battle and you don't have any of these terminal turnovers.
Okay.
Number 2 is shut down Utah's run game. Make Rose or Wilson, whoever they go with, carry the offense. Quarterback has to carry the offense, and Bernard isn't going off, then that's not good news for Utah scoring a bunch of points.
Okay.
So that's my number 2. And my number 3 is for BYU to use the quick passing game early in this game to make Utah's defense run from sideline to sideline, and you set your run game up with that. So Utah's physical. They like to play downhill. If you get them going side to side to side, then I think you can have some opportunities in the run game. In their last game, they gave up significant yardage in the run game. Didn't give that much up in the pass. But I think early in the game, they tested those edges. And I think for BYU, rather than just come out and say, hey, we're just going to run it at you, that's running right into Utah's strength. You make them run sideline to sideline, wear them down a little bit, and then come back and run the football. I think that's the formula for BYU.
Those are the 3 keys to beating the Utes. Wisconsin on the stream. Good to have you here with us. And here's BYU Phil. Scott Mitchell should have been a Coug. Ruined my first season at BYU. Well, it worked out for him up there at the U. We're going to hear from him like in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
I got a few articles of the Deseret News for you to read leading up to the game. Ty Detmer's dominance. He was on the show last week. He was fantastic. No BYU quarterbacks thrown for more touchdown passes against the Utes than he has. Sete Aulau and his 9 snaps to glory. The center story from the 2006 Beck to Harleen finish.
It's a really, like, I just read that one, and that's such a fun story from a different perspective, from the center's perspective.
And who knew his wife was up in the muss?
Yeah, and what was it? Was it 9 perfect snaps?
9 perfect snaps on the final drive
that he had to have in shotgun to get that done. And we never think about those guys, but we know how important they are. That's a great article.
And one out today, has there ever been a bigger week than this week for BYU sports? And we're going to talk about it on tonight's show, but it's crazy. All 3 articles are waiting for you at Deseret.com. And as Scott moves over, we do want to give a heads up to Erin Hurst. She is a loyal listener to the Wise Guys podcast, lives in Cleveland, Utah, in a serious fight with cancer. And Erin, we want you to know you're in our prayers. We hope this shout out gives you a smile. And we're also going to share Erin's 3 keys to the game on game day on Saturday night. She doesn't know that yet, but she's learning about it right now. So that means, Erin, I'm going to call you and get your 3 keys to the BYU-Utah game, and then we'll get them on during Saturday's live game day pregame show on BYU TV. But we sure appreciate you making time for the Wise Guys, and best of luck in your physical battle that we know you're in. Thank you for watching The Wise Guys.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.